I would actually connect to all what has been said already on a concrete example of the things that we are doing now. And I will say something about the challenges, but also problems Eurokaz has encountered in the process of digitization or digitalization. Actually, I was not sure which word
in your context.
Yeah, but you know, then I read
during the discussion.
I have used the word digitization. Is it okay?
So I looked at the internet.
We will comment about
Yes.
this and make a clarification in the discussion round.
Okay.
Now it says, while digitalization refers to the act of making analog information digital, digitalization is all about moving existing processes into digital technologies. In other words, digitization is for information, whereas digitalization is for processes. I think we're doing both. I mean, I was not really sure which word to use, but anyway. We started all this several months ago, thanks to a grant from the Foundation Cultura Nova. We haven't finished it yet, so it's a work in progress, but we accomplished the first early years of Eurokaz, which I will be able then to present you as examples. In our team, there are like 2 other persons. So Eva Brižan is here, our collaborator for digitization. And also we have one IT expert who is also a designer, web designer for the whole thing, because this new digital archive will be a part of our website. And the main problem that we encountered was that Eurokaz, who doesn't know, is a foreign guest, whatever, is a festival of new theater, which started in 1987 and ended in 2013 when it was transformed into a producing house, which still exists and is active. But we are doing only this festival part of its history. And the problem was that the technologies were changing. So we are talking about 35 years. The technologies were changing all the time. So while we were like digitizing, I don't know whether this is also called digitizing, like the early stages of technology, we had in several years had to adapt it to the new format. So the main task today for our IT expert is how to migrate the content of all digital also and analog archives to new standards. So we have to unify all this. So what we found in our app when we were like cleaning, taking out, I think, plastic boxes and things like that. So we started with these pads. Remember? I mean, actually, when Eurokaz started in '87, can you imagine? I mean, the highest technology achievement was fax machine, and so we were very happy that we had that. And we were mainly phoning and sending letters by post. So can you imagine? But anyway, the festival had the biggest program then. We had like 20 performances. We had the biggest money ever. It was the times of socialism. It was before the war. So I will be mainly talking about these early days of Eurokaz because this is something we finished in our website. So then we had, does anybody remember the beta tapes? I have no idea what's on it and where I can read it, but I will find out. I think in the Museum for Contemporary Art, did they have it? Then we had, when we had a contract with the press cut agency, the first shipments of press cut was on classic videotapes. So these are, and the problem is when you want to transfer it to a new format, actually it's in real time. So you have to be there by the machine and wait until this is all off. This also happens with the video shows. So with the performances, which we taped, of course, and we had the tapes of the early years of Eurokaz. And this whole process is very long. Actually, I have to thank also the Institute of Ethnology and Folklore Research for digitizing. Actually, Gordana does it. Is it called digitizing when the old videotapes, which is already a digital format, is transferred first to DVD, then the DVD was out, and we had to do it again on a different format. Is it also called digitization? So anyway, we are changing all these formats all the time, and then It came CD, that was achievement, which is quite easy to transfer it today to new formats, and DVDs. So the television material came on the DVDs, and the press material, the papers are on the CDs, and also the audio tapes. I forgot to bring audio tapes, actually, the small audio tapes. Anyway, so Eurokaz, just to remind you of several facts, was a festival that was provided the platform for the new generation of artists that were in the 80s making radical changes in the European theater landscape. So opening theater to what we have today. Started then, like, to the high technology, new media, visual arts, dance and movement, new dramaturgy, and so on. And it had an impact on the whole generations of artists and cultural workers here in Croatia for years. And because of this impact, because you can see in the program of Eurokaz the whole developments of performing arts from the 80s to today. So basically everybody who had to be in the program was there. So these excerpts from shows, from television material is used today as an educational tool in the theater academies, for example, in Zagreb and in Osijek. So I think it is very important now to categorize and to tidy up all this and to unite it in one place. This is what we are doing now, and to put it on the website, where it will be available to the wider audiences, you know, to researchers and everybody who is going to work on that. Eurokaz, it's important to know that Eurokaz is not an institution. We are now today as an artistic arts organization, which is only one permanently employed person. Before, in the early days, we had to be affiliated to other institutions like Zagreb Youth Theater, where we opened actually the new space in the 87 for the Olympic University Games. And each new director of these institutions that we were changing, the first thing they did was throw us out. You know, like we actually had to find another institution. So this archive was moving with us in public, these plastic boxes, and many things were lost on the way. So, but we realize now when we are trying to find some things, they aren't there anymore. And for example, the digital formats which were in the computer, the administrator who was working then there like 15 years ago didn't make them back up. So it was actually, the old computer was thrown away and these all digital formats were lost. So I had to call on photographers and people who were doing our program booklets and things to send us this material, and that was really a big problem. The material was very big because the media attention, for example, in the early days of Eurokaz was immense compared to what's happening today. So there were serious theater reviews in the daily papers, not only in magazines and publications. There were about 300 press cuts per year. And the biggest job was done by the Croatian television, which had festival chronicles every day. Each one lasted from half an hour to 1 hour. So each year had about, I don't know, 5 to 10 hours of television program. So one part of this program, so these festival chronicles were very important because you could see the fragments of the shows, interviews with artists, the whole atmosphere, interviews with theater critics, opinions, and because the polemics were very big at that time. You know, when Eurokaz brought these very strange shows for the first time to our audiences, and it was a shock. So there was a lot of negative response. You know, I remember a critic who wrote in Vjesnik that Rosas, the company that was in the first Eurokaz, you know, Rosas, I mean, that they are amateur dancers because they don't know to dance well because they fall on the ground all the time. You know, that was Dubravka Vrgoč as a theater critic of Vjesnik at the time. So all these things are there, and there was an attempt to to put them into digital format in 2004, what was done before. But we have now problems somehow. I will show you what was the problem. But this material from television was actually saved due to my father, who he didn't want to go to the theater, so he said, listen, please let me be at home. I will record everything what's on television about the festival. So we left him there, and television didn't have this material after the war because these tapes were overrun or thrown away, so they didn't have it. And thanks to the videotapes of my father, I could manage. At first I transferred it into DVDs and actually gave it to the television as a gift and said, "Love, you have all the 27 editions of the festival here." So they were very happy about it. The first variation of the digital archive is actually has been present on our old website, which I'm going to show to you now. So from no, the other one was so we had another problem. Just I forgot. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm share screen. Sorry. Where is the share screen? Wow. Yeah, so they all see it. Yes, and the generation is not very this. So, for example, we had you see the period between 87 and 2003, which was digital format on the website done by a Slovenian designer. What happened that he did it in the Adobe Flash Player, and we all know that 2 years ago Adobe Flash Player said that we are not going to exist anymore, and we hoped we could transfer the content to another format, more contemporary format, but the guy who did it actually said he doesn't have original, how do you call it, files, and he couldn't do it. And for a long time I was able, because I had Adobe Flash Player, and I refused to uninstall it all the time, so I could enter into this archive. And suddenly when I checked it again, a few months ago, there was nothing. So they basically, all is lost. Anyway, but so we had to do it again. But what we had was, for example, the old websites are here. For 3 years are missing, and we don't know where they are because there was another administrator doing this. So, for example, we had a program of the festival. It was in English and Croatian, but I'm now going to. So this one we will transfer to the new. You see, so we had all about each performance, photographs and more texts and so on. So these websites are preserved, and we are using them in the creation of the new one. But what is very important is this. Sorry, I'm just going to the website of Eurokaz. Hi. This video archive, which is there thanks to my father, as I said. Aha, wait. So you see all the years in the right column. So you click on any year, they will have this material. For example, we can go to the early one. There are also texts about, short text about the concept of the program that year, the program itself, and the video archive, which is So it starts with a poster, so we have all the posters for each year. And it's a very funny material to watch because it's. Is there a sound? How do we sound? How do we share the sound?
We can just stop sharing and then start sharing again to the sound on. Is it necessary now?
No, without the sound, there's nothing. Okay, that can help.
Is the sound necessary because we need to stop sharing and reshare?
Daj. Treba će nam zvuk. I have no luck with the audio, you remember. It's our independent production of DARIAH-HR there.
Eurokaz. Festival novog europskog kazališta. Kronika 1. Prva 4 dana. To je red.
It was a big concert on the main square of Zagreb. Asian artists there and so on. Anyway, so we can go on for ages like that. It's very interesting. I really recommend that you look at this material. Now we are trying, so I will now pass for the current website which we are working on now. So we will close that.
With the other tab.
Yeah. So the idea was, as you see in the so I must say that it's in Croatian. We don't have an English version yet, but we will certainly have it in the future because all these materials were done, analog materials were done in English and in Croatian. So for the early years, we had anyway. So it has to be me because I'm showing something.
Yes, maybe just stop sharing and then share it.
Sorry.
But we can see you in the
Okay, so for example, for the first years, analog years, we had photographs, we had only these depliants, you see with the short text about performances, and the longer text with cast lists and everything was in these bulletins, which were basically distributed before the festival to the media, you see, with the cast lists and so on. So we had to find it. Later on, these program booklets changed all the time, depending on the designers. Very often we had all this like this, yeah. And later on, we had proper books, which we scan. So we are in the process of scanning them like this. So there is an English and the Croatian version of it. And at some point in the 90s, we had these big booklets, you see. Anyway, all kinds of formats. So we had some difficulties in scanning them, how we were, because of the formats and things like that, but we managed. So I can, so how we did it, the first was the seasons. So we have all the years which are represented by posters first, yeah. I will show you the example on the first year, which might be the most interesting to remember what was going on the first year of Eurokaz. When I said 20 performances, 2 weeks, you see there are names of the artists going on here. We are going down. So there was always a text about the program concept. So we started with the beginning of the text. And if you want to read more, you have to attack here. So it's a big text, and then there are some, for example, some remarks. This was a remark, for example, on how Eurokaz was created, and already finished program was presented to the Cultural Committee of the Universiada, this University Olympic Games. Then there is this whole program. You see how many shows.
Time is ticking.
Already. So there are also the conversations. Here is you can download the scan of this little dépliant, what I said, and then we come to the performances. Each performance is presented by a photograph, by a short text, which you can download to be a bigger text, the bigger text from the bulletin. And then we can come to this, what we've already seen, but just quickly for all other things that are, I think, important. So these are the clips of the press cuts. So as I said, it was a big job to scan all this. We have a teaser first, like all little fragments polemic fragments from theater reviews, but who wants to see all can download the PDF. So all the articles are scanned here. The problem when it was scanned in is kind of going on. Okay. Yeah. So you can read all the articles, but the formats that where it was published and on which date it's in the PowerPoint presentation. Unfortunately, we still haven't found a solution how to put it on PDF, because everybody has to download the PowerPoint and then read it from there. Anyway, so how do I go back? How do I go back?
But you have to finish since you are, I think you have to announce it.
No, just a second.
But you have to.
No, I'm still just, okay, 2 more minutes, please. So we have gallery of photographs, we have the glossary, you know, we have each artist has the year when it was performed, so when you click on the year, you can see the whole program of that year. Then we have a download of all the publications and monographs of the festival, because we are also can edit. You see all the publications. The most challenging was the various other material, which was not the program booklets and things like the leaflets and all these things. But anyway, so this is still in the process, the evening programs of the shows with casts and everything. So anyway, so I don't have time anymore, but there's a lot of more things going on this website, and it will be finished in 2 months. This is what is our deadline, and so we will present it also again when it is all finished.